Hey, Terry,
Hi.
you want to talk about racism?
You mean like how orcs hate elves?
Exactly.
So why do you why do you think elves always have to hate orcs?
Because writers are really lazy. Like, I don't want to call anybody out, but at some point, there's if there's no real reason for it, or if there's just, oh, they're just bad people, that doesn't make sense. It's like saying all insert race here is blank.
I mean, I started thinking about this the other day. Crack did a podcast on or an after hours on how maybe the orcs were the good guys.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know. You're just told they're
Yeah,
evil.
Yeah.
Why?
It's just brainwashing. It's just they're evil. Why? But they're evil.
Exactly, because like the Uruk-hai, like the higher order of orcs, are actually elves.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's like,
They're
you know,
just like mutated dark magic infused elves.
exactly, and really, it's just like, hey, do you guys maybe want a job? And like, yeah, we've been left to die from the elves literally, so might as well give us a job.
Hey, orcs who have been pushed into the swamp that nobody could possibly survive in, so they're forced to raid. Do you want some farmland or something? Wait, really? Yeah, you can't survive in the swamp like that. Yeah, awesome.
I'm really looking forward to the Warcraft movie because they're telling that tale. Because in Warcraft 3, the orcs are not bad guys. They have to go to this new world, and instead of being welcomed in like refugees, they're killed like they're the plague.
Yeah.
And you wonder why there's this giant war. Like, yeah, they are technically, I guess, invading, but they're not, raping and pillaging like they always say. They're just people.
Yep.
Pathfinder does a really good job of this. Like, there's no innate racism. Innate. Like, it's not built into the character like it is in D&D a lot.
Yeah.
Like, no, dwarves don't get along with elves. Why?
Because they don't.
Because I said so.
Yeah. It's
no, it's not at all.
And we've talked about this a little bit, but I love the so-called evil races are naturally chaotic. Or evil
Right,
races,
like drow?
Like tieflings and drow, and it's like, oh, so just this race of people that has millions of people in it, every single one of them is a bad person.
Yeah, they're all evil because
There's no
that's them.
good story. There's one good drow.
Don't even get me
That's
started
it.
on like how racist they're the dark elves.
Yeah. Come on. Oh, subtle.
And
Very subtle, guys.
You always talk about like how you feel like vampirism. The whole reason why you can't go out in the sunlight is like it's a little much, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with the dark elves. Like they can't do well in sunlight.
No, it's the dark everything. The dark dwarves, the dark elves, the dark gnomes. It's like, oh, so they just like if the sunlight touches them, they can't like swing a sword. It's like, oh, that makes way more sense than anything else.
They're like mole people.
Blinded by the light. No, you're not gonna be that sensitive, like, unless you're written that way.
Right, and I mean, it makes sense with like their eyes at least, like their skin burning, all that stuff. It's a little much, especially because their skin is black.
Yeah,
like it's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
Pathfinder, like I said, does a really good job of this because it's essentially, all of these races have always been here.
Yeah.
Why would they hate each other other than just for people reasons?
Right.
Like, I don't like you because you took a shit on my lawn.
Yeah.
Not because you're an orc.
Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, you've lived next to Joe Johnson for 1,000, or your family has lived next to the Johnson family for 1,000 years.
Yeah.
And now just take the Johnson family and make it some tiefling last name. Oh nope! Instantly hate them.
Exactly. That's not how it works. If you were next to him all the time, even if they were weird, if the dude next door has always had birds, it's not gonna be that weird that he got more birds.
Right.
And it's the same thing. Like, if orcs have always been around, it's not going to be that weird that they ate that horse.
Right.
Because they always have ate those horses. That's why they bring home horses.
Yeah. If there's a demon summoning every summer in the one house, then it's not going to be weird when next summer they summon a demon lord.
It's just frustrating that always is how it has to be in these games. And the way that we write, we don't always do it.
Right.
But not also, not all writers do that as
Yeah.
well. The Night Angel trilogy, I think, does a really good job. I mean, most of the races are human, but they're not inherently racist or xenophobic. They have specific reasons why they don't get along.
See, I think the reasoning stays the same between an orc and a human, or an elf and a dwarf, and just simply like human races. It's
right.
Like, oh, you just don't like somebody because they're different than you. That why?
Actually, the Elder Scrolls games go back and forth with this. Sometimes they'll have a really interesting, I don't like this person because they're this way. Or, don't hate me, like, yeah, I'm an orc, yeah, I eat horses, but I also run all these stables.
Yeah.
I'm also much better read than you are. And they do a good job of that, but then sometimes it's, no, I don't like him, he's a human.
Yeah.
They do...
And that's way even more realistic because you have some people that are just like that.
Exactly.
They just hate.
And they're not gonna go farther than that. That is where they're gonna stick to their guns for no reason.
Yeah.
Where in that case, it's more ignorance than this built-in intolerance for no reason.
And fear.
D&D, I think we're giving it a bad rap.
Yeah,
they have gone away from this a lot.
Yeah.
But if you look in the early editions, like they had they had actual charts of like who doesn't get along with who, and part of it is building a world.
Yeah,
like there is racism that exists. There's going to be racism in these worlds, and I do like that idea. But when they push that these characters have to be,
and sometimes there are real reasons. Like if you look at Lord of the Rings, if you look at The Hobbit or whatever, and you have this, the elves were supposed to help the dwarves, and they didn't.
Right.
That's a reason for dwarves to hate elves.
Exactly.
Because they lost their home because of the elves.
Right.
But if it's just like, dwarves and elves don't get along because they're different, and it's way easier to just say different things can't be friends.
Exactly, and I think there's a place for everything. Like you can play those grittier worlds where that happens, or you can play Pathfinder where everyone gets along, and they hate each other because of their social differences rather than I was going to say color of their skin, but I mean, the shape of their bodies and all the different things.
Physical morphology of what they are.
Exactly. It comes and goes, and you have to pick and choose. It's just sometimes when it's physically built into the system, it is a little bit frustrating.
Yeah.
And like I said, D&D, Pathfinder, Skyrim, so video games, comics, movies, Warcraft, there's a little bit in everything. Yeah. And you have to delve deep into it. If you look at the Silmarillion, not all elves are racist. Right. There's a reason why they hate orcs.
Right.
There's a reason why the orcs side with the evil. If you look at Warcraft, there's a reason why there are refugees and why the world's split in two.
If you look deep enough, you very rarely actually see there's no reason for it. Because usually writers aren't that negligent. But just to an outside observer, they pick up on that, and then you hear about people who are just writing small things, and there is no rich backstory for why orcs are evil.
Right.
They just assume, everyone else has orcs that are evil, so my orcs are now evil.
Exactly. And if you look at specifically when you go to Lord of the Rings, even though it's not canon, I guess, is the Shadow of Mordor game.
Yep.
You murder legions of orcs in that game. Not one of them's like, maybe that guy's right.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't be hanging out with these guys. They just eat a dog monster.
Yeah. Every single orc is
evil.
of the same mind and is
exactly
quote evil.
And also they all speak with a Cockney accent.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, like every single one is evil.
Yeah.
And it's just, I feel like that is pushing it a little far.
Yeah.
Because that's saying that does start to send the message where all races are the same.
Yeah.
And that's when you get stereotypes and bigotry.
If you look the same, you are the same.
Exactly. And I feel like it sends a bad message. Not only that, but it's also less fun.
Yeah.
Like
finding, like in a game where you find somebody who's like, no, I'm not, what? No, we're not all alike. You do understand that, right? And it kind of just calls out that assumption that all blanks are blank.
Right.
It kind of enriches the experience because it snaps some of reality into the game,
right,
without snapping you out of the game.
Right. And actually, you did a good job of this, and it calls back a joke from Oblivion. When we were playing D&D, and I approached the orc, and I made a comment about him eating horses. He's like, we don't all eat horses, but I do eat horses, and I will eat you as well.
Yeah.
He's like, don't get me wrong, like, I do eat horses. We're not all like that. I just think they taste delicious.
Yeah. Like, yes, some of us do. But, like, don't just make that assumption.
Exactly. We are people.
You are correct in this situation.
In this one instance.
This is a recipe I recommend. And also, you look delicious.
Exactly. You can cheek to these things. You can make winks and nods. You can make jokes. And sometimes there is just flat-out racism. Yeah. That is a thing that exists in the world. There's a thing that can exist in your fantasy, setting. But it doesn't have to be.
Right.
There are levels of it and there are shades of it, and you need to be able to identify and use each one.
Yeah.
And that's all we're really saying. And the more you know.
Yeah. Don't be lazy with your writing.
Exactly. Yeah. Just try a little bit harder.
Yeah.
All right. Lord of the Rings isn't the only story.
As George R. R. Martin said, orcs are people too.
I've always considered women as people. See, that's actually that guy. He does things right. I appreciate his writing.
That's actually a really insightful quote. Is just because I was looking on Reddit a couple days ago, and there was a post about somebody who was writing their own fantasy world, and all of the people they were creating were male. And there was a big discussion in the sub posts that were, well, why don't you just stop writing gender as the first thing, write out all your interesting characters, and then just go male, female, male, female, male, male, female, female, male, female.
Exactly.
And a lot of the time, it won't change anything you had already written about the character, but it will change the mindset of the character. If you have like a woman who's grown up in a primarily patriarchal society, and they're in a position of power, that's a badass right there.
Exactly. And you don't have to write, you don't have to go, okay, this is going to be PC D&D.
Yeah, no.
You don't have to have that. But if you write them as people, like you can write a female character. Again, like you said, you don't have to write her as female.
Yeah.
You just write a cool character.
Yeah.
And then she is female.
Yeah.
Like that's just what she is.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to change the character. And in fact, you might create a more interesting character because now they have levels that you didn't expect, you didn't count on. And that makes the writing more fun for you.
Especially when you're writing for people of the opposite gender of
Exactly.
you.
Exactly.
'Cause a lot of the times you'll come in with preconceived notions, and it's, oh, right. And if you can catch yourself on that, you can write and just be better in general.
just write better.
just write better.
And that's all the Cave Trolls had to say about that.
Absolutely.
We're the Cave Trolls and we're out.
We're out.
Yeah.